Hey, it's Josh again. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about trans men and stuffed animals. And I have before you some of my stuffed animal collection. This is what I have not packed away and not in the US. So, Sully, pink pirate llama, another llama, dog, Pokemon squid thingy, this like pillow thingy that's getting kind of old. Most of the stuff is stuff that I won from UFO crane machine games in Japan. And some of it is stuff that I got when I tried to get it from the games when I was feeling particularly homesick or lonely, or like I really wanted a pet and I couldn't have one. I did have a cat for a while, and I had to find a new home for her, and I was really sad, I was living alone. So then I would go and I'd play these crane games until I won something, and part of it was this like kind of psychological need to win something, and part of it was that I wanted some sort of comfort. And so I have all these stuffed animals now, and most of these are probably not taking back to the US with me, but I am going to take some stuff back. And I also have a lot of stuff in the US that probably some of it I should get rid of just for space considerations, and I have made efforts to get rid of a lot of the stuffed animals I had from when I was a kid for that reason, but I'm not going to get rid of everything. And that is something that has come up, especially with talking with my mom recently, because she sees it as proof that I'm actually female. And that was one of the things that kind of was making it hard to deal with my actual gender identity, is because there are certain female things that I like, that so if I'm a guy, then how do I like these things? Well, I would argue that it doesn't really matter. For example, in Japan, it's a lot more acceptable for guys to like stuffed animals, or at least it's a lot more accepted that there are guys that like stuffed animals. And a lot of these crane games have these like cute figurines or cute stuffed animals or things like that, usually based on certain characters. And there are a lot of guys who like these. They're still considered kind of weird in Japanese society, but it's more like they're geeks, they're otaku. They're not, it's not that they're overly effeminate, though maybe there is kind of that feeling a little bit, but it's not quite like in the US. But also, I would still argue that stuffed animals are really, it's kind of gender neutral. I would argue that anyone can like them. For me, growing up, I had this profound sense my entire life that there was something deeply, deeply wrong with me. And I also had a very, very, very hard time making friends when I was younger. It took a very long time for me to figure out who my people are. And just in general groups of people, I'm kind of the odd one out. So there was large periods of my childhood where maybe I didn't have any friends, or the friends I did have didn't really want to be seen with me, or things like that. So having stuffed animals was something that really helped me. I had all these stuffed animals when I was a kid. A lot of these things, there were things people gave me, or things that my mom gave me, so my mom recently said, well, you had all these pink bunnies as a kid, and I'm like, you know what, you probably gave me most of the pink bunnies, and, but I would say that the things that I liked were, if I picked them out, they would not necessarily be overly cutesy. I really liked my stuffed raccoon, things like that, but still, there's nothing wrong with liking pink bunnies. And I mean, I have a pink pirate llama. I mean, it's pink, but it's a pirate, and it's a llama. I mean, it's awesome, clearly. But and so I feel like, you know, they were a toy, they were a thing that I liked, they were a thing that I play with, they were a thing that it was viewed that it was acceptable for me to play with. If I had been cis, and I feel like probably my mom would have taken the stuffed animals away from me at a certain point. Baby boys are allowed to have, like, teddy bears and stuff like that up to a certain point, and I think they get taken away earlier. They're just this image that boys should grow out of them quicker and then toughen up and things like that, and I think that's ridiculous. I think if a kid really wants something, he should be allowed to play with it. Just like, you know, I played with a lot of Ninja Turtle stuff when I was a kid, and I'm really grateful that my mom never said, oh, that's a boy's toy, you shouldn't play with that. And so I think it's ridiculous, the idea that anything is particularly the scope of boys, or totally the scope of girls, or whatever. Just like the idea that I once played with Barbies is in any way saying that I'm not actually a guy. Now, when I got older, I never really grew out of stuffed animals. When I was in middle school, puberty was very, very, very traumatic for me, and I didn't understand why it was so traumatic. And I had this very large bunny that I used for support, and I even ended up taking the bunny to school with me a lot. I was teased a whole lot by my classmates, and having the bunny made me feel better, even though the bunny was a new way for people to tease me. And my classmates actually got kind of creative about it, and they made up stories about the bunny being a drug addict and shooting up heroin and stuff like that, and stuff that is amusing in retrospect. At the time, I was severely bothered by it, but now it's like, okay, yeah, that's how a middle school boy would handle it. Well, it's not how I handled it, but anyway, when I had tests or things like that, we were allowed to bring stuffed animals for good luck charms, and I would do that. When I went on study abroad, I brought a pink bunny, not a pink bunny, I brought a white bunny with me, and when I came back, I brought the bunny back with me, and I remember I did not have room in my luggage to put the bunny in, but it was very important for me to bring it, so I had to tie it to my jacket, and then I ended up having to make a connection in Tokyo, and I was almost late to the plane because of I had to switch airports, and so I remember running through Narita with this bunny tied to my jacket, and it was ridiculous, but I brought it back with me because it was really important. So when I came to Japan, I brought some stuffed animals with me. I brought a stuffed octopus that's currently packed away, because I'm definitely taking that back to the US, because it's a stuffed octopus that I got in an aquarium in China, and I love octopuses. They're my favorite animal ever, and I'm definitely keeping that. And I also brought a few things back from home when I came over here. I have a stuffed rabbit that's actually Monty Python merchandise with teeth and stuff that's also packed, and I'm definitely taking that back as well. And I'm not going to get rid of this stuff because it's important to me, and I'm not necessarily, you know, going to carry it with me or put anything on my desk at work or anything like that, and I don't necessarily need to advertise it, but I don't feel like it's any indication that I'm any less, or I know what my gender presentation is like, but my gender presentation and my gender identity are not the same thing. I know I like longer hair. I know I like nail polish. I know things like that. It doesn't mean that I'm actually genderqueer or actually female or anything like that, though. And this is something that I was arguing with my mom about yesterday. Actually, no, 2 days ago. And she thinks I should be getting rid of all of them. And part of that is a space consideration, and that I appreciate. But the other part is she was saying it doesn't go along with my new orientation. Now, I did end up getting a little bit upset with her over the term orientation, because it's gender identity, not orientation, because this has nothing to do with my sexual orientation whatsoever. She did at a different point bring up the fact that I liked pink bunnies as a kid. Is this a sign that maybe I'm bisexual? And at that point I was like, but I am bisexual. And I don't think there's necessarily any correlation between that. However, I would say that there are certain things about me that are kind of maybe perceived as being feminine that I would say are more of, if anything, connected with the fact that I am queer. And there's a lot of stuff that I liked. Like, I liked Project Runway, but I think I liked Project Runway in a I'm queer way, not in a female way. Which it's very different, and it was a very big revelation for me when I realized that. But still, even if I was straight, I would still say, it doesn't matter. This is just stuffed animals are just something that I like, that it's always been okay for me to like, and so I've been able to explore that. Maybe if there's other things that I would have been interested in that it hasn't been okay for me to explore. I haven't felt like I was entitled to explore it or anything like that. And now I can. Like I was mentioning, that I really wanted to learn how to use power tools because no one's ever taught me, and also that was something that was very much, this is a guy thing. If my school had shop class, I know I would have been the first person though to apply to be in it though, because I really would have wanted to learn how to do that. And I would have been the first person saying, girls can learn shop, what, because that was very much how I was in high school. I was the only girl in the computer programming class, and that makes me really sad in retrospect now that there were no girls in the computer class, really, though the teacher was still female, and that's awesome. But still, anyway, I'm sidetracking, but the point is I still like what I like, and I'm still the same person, and hey, I have a jacket that has pink on it, but it's a men's jacket. It's a Japanese men's jacket, has pink on it. Who cares? It's a color. That's all it is. Pink used to be for men and blue used to be for girls and then women, and then it got switched at some point, and maybe it'll switch back, but it shouldn't even matter. Who cares? Like what colors you like. My favorite color is still purple. I don't really care. I still am going to have at least one stuffed animal in my bed. If a future partner doesn't like that, well then, who cares? Whatever. And also, I'm 30, but do I have to like act my age? Whatever. If I have a reason for something giving me comfort, it's not like it's destructive or anything like that. The most I can say is that they take up space, and that I took up money buying them because they're quite cheaply made, and I won them from a crane game. And so I think I ended up spending about 1,000 yen, or $10 to get this, when I'm sure it cost about 100 yen to actually make. But still, it doesn't matter. Like what you like. I wish I didn't have to be explaining this to people like my mom, because honestly, why should it matter? Why should it matter whatsoever? But anyway, that's it. This is cute. It's really, 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 really cute. Okay, that's my rant. Everyone, have a good evening. Bye.